My husband walked in the kitchen in 2008, looked at me and said, Kingsport needs a carousel. We didn't have the money, we didn't have a frame. Everything that was in the carousel magazine from San Francisco, where people put their frames they were selling or their carousel animals they were selling, they were all tens of thousands of dollars. We didn't have the money. Well, he did some research on his own. He found a carousel carving school in Soddy Daisy, Tennessee called Horston Around, and it was owned by Bud Ellis. And he found them on the internet and got in touch with Bud and talked to Bud and got Bud to come up to his Kiwanis Club and present how to carve carousel animals, because Bud had been teaching it ever since he was an art teacher, and someone had brought a box in of a carousel animal taken apart and asked Bud to please put it back together and paint it. So Bud ended up starting this school, and it had been going on for quite a few years. Well, there were 4 people in the Kiwanis Club who did woodwork and were interested in getting involved with trying to build a carousel for Kingsport. They were all 4 retired, one a teacher, Milton Nelson, one a retired banker, George Gibson, 2 retired chemists from Eastman, Reggie Martin and Ted Heilig. So they took the idea to Cultural Arts of Kingsport. Bonnie McDonald was head of it. And Bonnie found a small grant that helped pay their tuition for the 4 of them to go back to Soddy Daisy and learn how to carve carousel animals. Well, because Gail had made that contact with the Carousel magazine publisher, a Bridgeport, Connecticut, the Beasley Zoo called the Carousel magazine and said, we want to list our old frame, which is a Denzel 1956 frame. We want to list it for sale. Well, the magazine publisher said, we have a lot of carousel frames for sale, but if you want to get rid of it, because it had been in storage for 6 years, call Kingsport, Tennessee, because they're looking for a frame. Well, they called the mayor. The mayor called the head carver, Reggie and Ted. They jumped in a truck and went up there to see the frame, and it was exactly what they wanted. The right number of animals, the right number of chariots, the size they wanted, and we didn't have a way to get it back. But Dennis called Gene Still of Still Transfer and said, what would it cost us to bring this frame back? And Gene said, I've got a truck up there coming back through. You get someone to load it and I'll bring it back free. And that's the type of thing that happened with this carousel. All these serendipitous things that worked out beautifully. Gail had Lewy body dementia, and he died 2 years later, and the 4 guys had been carving in their basements or in their shops. About a year after Gail died, I was finally through doing all the widow things, and I called Reggie Martin, who was the head carver, and I said, I want to carve a carousel animal. Now, I had had horses all my life. I was an art major, but I'd never carved a bar of soap. So they said, we don't have a studio yet, we're working on one, but you need to go down to the Soddy Daisy School. So I got in my car, paid my tuition, and after being there a week and learning how to do it, I came home, and by that time, the 4 horsemen, as we called them, had set up a studio in Lynn Garden High School, the old Lynn Garden High School. It was called the Lynn Garden Community Center.
It really got started when my mom was carving an animal. She, along with many other volunteers, thought it would just be an amazing opportunity to give back to this city and do something just incredible in the city of Kingsport. And so my mom got involved early, and obviously the way our family works, that means that I was involved early.
I was the number 5th person to join the carousel in 2010. I was given an opportunity to leave Eastman Chemical Company at that point, and my wife was looking in the paper and saw the carousel project was beginning.
Me and my wife were in Kingsport walking down Broad Street, and there was a group of carvers that were carving animals, and we stopped in and watched them. They got me interested in carving and asked if I'd like to carve an animal.
Well, I went down and met Reggie Martin, who was the main leader for the carousel project. I didn't have any experience in carving, so the task was to figure out, well, what kind of animal to carve. Yes, I'd made birdhouses and small woodworking projects, but never embarked on a task to do this type of work.
Giraffe was already taken, so I decided to carve a zebra because I like animals from Africa. And this one, we named it Barcode because of printers I used at work, which are called barcode printers.
So I didn't want to do a horse because of all the intricacies with the carving of the mane. So at that point of retirement, I took a trip out to see my brother in Idaho. His wife said, why not carve a frog? Frogs looked like they're simple to do, they didn't have a mane. Well, great idea, came back and showed that to Reggie. Well, there was another gentleman on the project that came in, that was Joe Pinkerton, who, as you probably will hear, carved a buffalo.
Living where I did as a young boy, when I got to play, when I was not working, carrying water, or working in the fields, or chopping wood, I played a lot of cowboy and Indians. But this buffalo is, of course, a white buffalo, which means a lot to the Native American Indian. They could get everything that they needed off that one animal. But the buffalo used to be here in the thousands. And a lot of the old trails that were used when people started coming here were nothing but buffalo trails.
So we had a lot of fun in the carving studio, which it took about 2.5 years to carve the frog. Well, Joe took the frog and redesigned the frog into a prince frog with a collar, a crown, a scepter. So the project began carving a frog that turned out to be as intricate as the other animals.
Inside this is 2 envelopes. One is to Joe Pilkington, who carved the buffalo and the horse with the blue eye. It's a letter to him thanking him for how he gave me some instruction to carve a die. The other is a poem. So when this gets chopped up for wood to put in somebody's fireplace, they'll find those 2 envelopes. Here is the initials of my daughter, Cameron. And like all my other animals, they have initials of family folk on them.
So I started carving. It took me probably 1,000 hours to carve my first carousel horse. About halfway through with the horse, I looked around and everything on the carousel was for boys. They had a wolf, they had a tiger, they had a lion, there was an elephant. There was nothing for little girls. So I went to Reggie and said, Reggie, I'm gonna make my horse a unicorn. That's for little girls. So that was Morning Glory, my first animal, because she had morning glories and vines all over her. After I did Morning Glory, I decided there needed to be something else for little girls, so I drew myself a cat and put a tutu and toe shoes on her and carved Sassy the dancing cat. After I got through with Sassy, I had to do one thing for sure. I had told Gail that we would have a carousel in Kingsport when pigs flew. So if you come to the carousel, on top of the ticket booth is Pickle the flying pig. And she was fun to carve because she was small and I could actually carry her around. We ended up with about 30 carvers and we all had such a delightful time that most of us did more than one piece. If there were no more big animals to carve, people worked on the chariots, which is the stagecoach and the Santa train. And then we found out that with our carousel, there was something called the sweeps, which is the rafters. And we put little animals up in the sweeps. And the rule was if they could crawl or fly up there, you could put something up there. And I carved a squirrel holding an acorn, and I carved a cat playing with a ball. So there are a lot of those little animals up there. I don't even know the number of them. There are 32 horses and animals on our carousel, and there were the 2 chariots.
The other part of the carousel project I got involved in was the sound system. And we wanted to have a system that would do everything from a touchscreen. And so I was able to design a program to do that, and that's what you now see running in the carousel. In addition, growing up in Rochester, New York, very close to Elmira and Binghamton, which is the carousel capital of the world, and I said to Reggie, we needed a band organ, and met up with a gentleman by the name of Jim Grayson, who lives in Johnson City. He put me on to the Johnson Organ Company in Fargo, North Dakota, and we ended up purchasing from him the 105 replica of the Wurlitzer band organ.
I moved to Kingsport last July. I moved from Rome, Georgia. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter here. Her name is Willow. And I brought her to the carousel and we just had the most fun. And I asked if they needed any part-time help. And Heather said, if you'll come back during December, we would appreciate it. So I volunteered, and well, I've fallen in love with this place. It's magical. I had the opportunity to work with Jay Church, and Jay had been here since the 2015, I believe. People would come from all over the world, and Jay would always greet them. What an ambassador he was for Kingsport. He'd say, where are you from? They'd tell him, and he'd give them a little history on the carousel.
Well, it was really my wife I have to blame for that. I was looking for something to do, moved here from Cincinnati, had various jobs, and I was at a point in my life when I'm looking for something unique, unusual, and satisfying. And she said, there's an ad in the paper, you ought to go talk to them about the carousel. So I did. Bonnie McDonald was kind of running the whole thing at that time, and I was selected as the first person to operate the carousel, and I've loved every minute of it since then. 8.5, we're coming on 9 years this coming summer, and have had over 500,000 riders from all over the world.
I see kids coming in here and their eyes are all lit up and they're happy. This is such a happy place. And their grandparents will sit over there in the rocking chairs and watch them, and they'll give them another token. They'll go and ride. I've seen kids ride for 2 hours without stopping.
I can't tell you how much it means to me. How many people wake up every day thinking, wow, I get to go to work today? Well, I'm one of them. I love coming to the carousel. I love the people. I love the people I work with. The city's been great. They're super supportive of the carousel. And the riders, the families, the individuals, the kids.
Here I believe that the carousel is essentially the idea that a small group of people get together and work really hard in order to make a place that's happy for a lot of people. And I believe we've been successful at that. I'm following in the footsteps of Jay, the carousel man, who did that naturally and wonderfully. We're not really in this to try to make money or be successful as a business, or, you know, we do represent the city, but we're in it in order to bring joy and happiness to people and to make it safe for them to enjoy it. And so it's good for me because I'm getting to come out of my comfort zone and get to know people and relate to people.
This carousel is magic. It came together magically.
So one day we were in the carving studio and this man walked in. His name is Eric Long. Eric said, I don't know how to carve, but I can do a lot of other things. What can I do to help? And Reggie said, can you run a steam jenny to clean off this engine? And Eric said, sure. And that's how Eric got involved. And now he's been the mechanic that keeps this machine going ever since that time. So the history is all delightful. We made the money by selling sponsorships. Every animal that was sponsored cost from $6,000 down to $1,500 for the little ones. You could sponsor the stagecoach, you could sponsor the white buffalo, you could sponsor the angel boards, there were wildflower boards, there were butterfly boards, all part of the frame of the carousel. We raised almost all the money. I think we were short about $400,000 the last party we gave trying to raise money. And Pal Barger came up to Bobby Phillips and said, "How much do you need to finish?" And Bobby said $400,000.
When they were doing this Pal's Roundhouse building, when everybody came that day, Pal Barger was supposed to make an announcement that he was donating a certain amount of money to help fund the Roundhouse. And Pal got up there on the microphone and just said that the Roundhouse is paid for. And so that's the kind of volunteerism and the kind of community that went into this project, is just everybody donating their time, money, and effort to make this what it is today.
It's really been wonderful to see how over those 10 years of running the carousel, the city of Kingsport is really taking care of it. The park is always full of children. There are always happy families on this carousel. It's wonderfully programmed, and there's always a lot of life here at the carousel.
In the last 10 years, the people that I have made friends with have become family, and it's just amazing. They're more than just friends. They really and truly are family, and I want that for everybody. I want this to be a legacy that lasts forever. I hope it outlives us all.
What I hope for the carousel in the future is sustainability, understanding a little bit of what it takes to maintain a carousel through a lot of research that I did through zoos all over the country. I know it takes a lot, and I just want to make sure that it's here for years and years to come, so children and children at heart can enjoy this for eons.
My heart just expands and almost bursts every time I come here. This is a memory that will always be with me. It's one of the highlights of my life. I can't really express myself how I really feel about it, but I love this place. The next 10 years, I want it to be just like it is, full of happiness, full of cheer, full of laughter, full of children, full of adults, everybody coming in here together, enjoying it.
I'll never forget, one day I was working down here, and it was a free day, one of the free days. The church had done it for everyone to come and ride free. And this man came in, and he was obviously a common laborer, real sweet man, and his little granddaughter he brought. And he had her on the carousel, and she kept ringing around getting line again because she loved it. And he leaned over to me and he said, "How much is it to ride?" And I said, "It's just $1." He said, "I'd have brought her sooner if I'd known it was just $1." And so I hope it can stay that way, and I hope there are many generations of children that'll be able to play on this carousel, because it's a wonderful thing.
It's so heartfelt, and it was so warming to see so many people get together to do this. I was going through a lot of things myself, and it has just cemented unity in this community to do something like this. I am very thankful for getting involved with this project. It is something that is very, very dear to me.
And I think part of what makes this carousel so special is the people who were a part of it and the people that are still a part of it today. And I know, Carousel Jay was like a family member to us. We love Jay, and everything that he did for this carousel, he was really a person that made every child that came through that entrance feel like they were something special. And so this is just a place that is very near and dear to our hearts, and will be for as long as we live.
Yeah. That's really something. We should be very proud of this carousel. I am.
When you say all over the world, where have
some of the places we have.